Welcome back to another episode from Ampro Engineering. This time we are talking about traction lock rear ends for the Hornet, the Grasshopper, the Midnight Pumpkin, the Lunchbox, all the CW01s, the Grasshopper 2, Super Hornet, and whatever car I have forgotten with what is quite possibly the world's greatest transmission. This is the spool that you will install in the differential gear, which will prevent the diff from working. So this is basically going to take the place of all of the spider gears as well as the external bevel gears in the differential and allow you to have a solid rear axle. This is what you would get. And for a moment, before I actually dive into this, I do want to tell you who designed this because it wasn't me. This was designed by Joe Bonnet. He, you may have seen him on eBay for a little while. He was selling these very, very similar differential lock as well as a 4-link kit for the Tamiya Hornet and CW01 chassis. He reached out to me and said that he was all out of these diff lockers and asked me to go ahead and make a variation on them and make them available since they were very popular and he was no longer able to continue to produce them. So Joe, big shout out to you. Thank you for this beautiful design. And I hope I've done you justice here in my 3D printed form. Let's go ahead and install this and see if it works. The first thing you're going to want to do is remove the transmission from your vehicle. So I've got most of the screws out. Let me crack this open and get it all ready. I've got the transmission opened up here, and what we're going to want to do is start off with this differential gear and remove all of these bevel or spider gears. So I'm going to just go ahead and just, there you go. And we have the empty diff gear. In here, again, we also are going to want to remove that bevel gear as well as this bevel gear. That'll leave us with both axles, the main diff gear, and your counter gear. At this point here, we'll go ahead and take the locker, and this is it has a pin that goes straight through it, and this is simply the result of how it's printed on Shapeways. So we'll go ahead and just break that pin. Here we have a left and a right. The way this works is this half with the boss protruding here, this is on the side of the counter gear. The reason for that is when it's installed, it kind of rides right beneath it like that. So we're going to put this on the, we'll just put it on the left side here. And remember that that is the side that has the little shim, so please don't forget that. Now before we install it, we do want to make sure that everything is cleaned out. Because this is 3D printed out of nylon, we do want to make sure that all of the little crevices in here are cleaned. So I can see right now that there's a little bit of residual powder, if you can see that right there. So we're just going ahead and just clear it out a bit. And remember, this is just a result of the 3D printing process. So we want to make sure that we don't force anything in here. So just kind of clean this out. And remember, please always wear your safety goggles, and a razor blade is not a toy. So please, any of the younger folks out there, make sure that you have a parent, guardian, or supervisor around when you do this. All right. There it is. Nice and cleaned out. We do want to make sure that this opening is completely cleaned here. We can try just running the X-Acto knife just kind of flat on the surface just to kind of smooth it out a little bit. Just like that. You can also just go ahead and slip a 5mm drill bit straight through this. And the reason for this, again, we want to make sure this is nice slip fit. So let's take the axle and just confirm that it does fit. There we have it. It's a little stiff, but that's okay. It is very important that this differential is stiff inside of this diff gear. We don't want the diff slipping back and forth because that can cause premature wear to this differential, especially when you go forward, reverse, or land a jump. Let's just make sure that this is nice and snug in here. All right, so that is pushed in. And remember not to forget the little sleeve over that axle, and we'll just slip it straight in there. And there is the left side. The right side is going to work the same way, so let's go ahead and just clear this out. All right, and that is nice and clean now. And same as before, let's just make sure this hole has no extra material in there. Just clear out little by little. You don't want to make it too big. All right, so let's push that in, align this hex head real fast. All right, that's lined up. I'm just going to push it in with these pliers. Just because my thumb doesn't fit in that hole. There we go. and it is in. Okay, so the next part is slipping the diff right on here. So the way this works is, you can look at it from this, like this here. We're going to see that these pieces here actually fit into the slots, and we want to make sure that this angled wall here on the left is pushed all the way up against that angled slot in the differential gear. So push it all like that. If you don't, it might be a little bit more tricky to get these to seat properly. And then on the right side, we'll do the same thing, just kind of a little bit harder because you can't see it, and it's going to slot right in there. Okay, there you have it. I didn't do any finishing on those faces, so those went right in. We'll slip the right side of the gear case on. You put a screw in. Now that we have it in there, it's important to note that you are going to see some axial movement. Okay, it's not that much, and it's a little bit less than it was originally, and that's okay. That is perfectly acceptable. So as long as you've got no more than, I would say, about a millimeter and a half, you are all set. And as we can see here, turning the right axle will turn the left axle at the same rate. You have no more differential in this rear end. I have tried this diff locker, the one that Joe had initially sent me in the Hornet I have at the office, and I was a bit skeptical at first because I never really, thought about putting a diff locker in the Hornet. And where you really see the difference is in turns. Usually the Hornet will lean to one side, lift the inside tire up, and it just kind of sits there and roasts the inside tire. Now the power is distributed to both tires equally. When you take a turn with the solid axle, the Hornet actually responds a lot more predictably because you no longer have that issue where you lean to one side and the inside tire lifts up. I really wanted to do some driving videos. Unfortunately, the past few weeks at the office have been absolutely insane, and I have not had a chance to even head out for lunch. So as soon as things slow down a little bit, I will do this driving video where you can see the stock axle as well as the axle with the diff locker. And I think you'll be pleasantly surprised. It's a neat product. This is also great on a Midnight Pumpkin or a Lunchbox, or even like a Unimog or a Montero wheelie, where you do a lot of off-road driving and the truck always seems to get stuck on one of the on some rock, either on the belly or under the transmission, and one tire is sitting there doing nothing and the outside tire spinning. This will prevent that. Now you're going to have traction to both rear tires at all times. Well, I hope you enjoyed this. This has been a neat little project, and again, it was really great of Joe to allow me to use his design in this differential. I think this differential is going to make a lot of cars significantly more fun. So, hope you enjoyed this. I have some upgrades coming very soon for the Rising Fighter and the Grasshopper 2 and Super Hornet. Keep an eye out for those, and let's not forget that Project Hornet 2 is coming along really well, and I'm super excited to continue working on that. Please subscribe and go ahead and add me on Instagram as well as Facebook at Ampro Engineering on both. And before you take off, please take a look at the band Blue Pinto. They allow me to use all of their songs in my videos, and a link to their Facebook page is in the credits. And if you are interested in this, the part number is in the description. Thank you so much.